Hi there, my name's Matt. I'm one of the directors of Welby Innovate, also the kind of chief geek, and this system is my baby that I've developed over many years with lots of input from a growing team and lots of clinicians and nurses and receptionists and people all helping to develop the system you're going to see a bit of now. So this video is just to give you a very quick demo of our recall system and the kind of key features of it and the sorts of ways it works. To do that, I'm just going to show you various bits and pieces on some test patients. And let me just bring this over here so you can see properly. So I'm going to show you sort of bits of kind of regular things you might be doing as a clinician, how our system would handle it, and you can think for yourselves about how this might compare to what you do in your own practice. So while I've been talking, I'm trying to prescribe some atorvastatin, which is doing something a bit strange. There we go. And I press OK. So it might be that in your practice, you've got to now remember to send a task or set up a scheduled task or put a recall in place for arranging the lipids and LFTs in 12 weeks. One of our principles is that there's too much in life to remember, so we want our system to do the remembering and the work for you. So in this scenario, because I've started this statin, I get this pop-up. Do I want to arrange the lipids and LFTs in 12 weeks? Really simple. I click yes. If I was a GP, there's nothing more that I need to do to arrange for those bloods to happen. And I'll show you in a minute how that then follows up. It may be as well that when seeing the patient, there are other bloods that I want to arrange at the same time. In this template, we can see here, for example, that the LFTs and lipids are going to be 12 weeks after, i.e. today. So I can pick some other bloods. I'm just going to pick some really random things. And it might be that I think, well, I want those to be done around the same time, so I'll future date them a bit. And essentially what our system will do is it will combine then one invite and one process for the patient to get both the statin monitoring and these bloods to be done. And it'll also say, make it clear that that's the reason why the tests are needed, and so on and so forth. And also to direct them back to me as a clinician. So let's imagine we've rolled on sort of 8 weeks or so. How would those patients then get invited? Well, what our system does is it works out all the patients who need an invite for their annual review, or if their annual review is not due, for their monitoring. So most likely the patient will fall, for example, into this report. So this is worked out. These are patients who only need blood tests. So I can pick to send them an appointment invitation for only bloods. It's also telling me exactly what preset message to use. So here I can search for this. Don't worry about how quickly I'm doing this. This is not a training video. This is just to give you a feel for how it all works. So I can bulk send those, and that's 45 patients that I have actually invited because they need an invite. And that report will include, for example, those patients who were started on a statin a few months ago. It would include things like patients needing their methotrexate monitoring, their DOAC monitoring, all the different reasons that you might be wanting to recall the patients for. Our system will pull that together and work out who needs what appointment and when. So, for example, the fact they're in this report means they're not housebound, they've not already got the appointment booked, they've not been invited recently, the bloods haven't already been taken. So lots of checks that might be done manually are no longer needed. If the patient doesn't engage or doesn't respond, they'll get prompts for admin staff, which I'll show you in a minute. After a few weeks, they'll drop into follow-up reports and so on. And our prescribing module, which we'll look at separately, can also pick up and identify non-responders and flag up when medication isn't safe to continue issuing, at least not 4 weeks at a time. On a different test patient, I want to show you the sort of thing that receptionists would see. So let's say for some reason a patient can't use that link and they call up. A reception would see a prompt like this. And what this prompt is doing is it's giving them wording that they can read out that's specific to the patient. Essentially, it's looking at all the different reasons why a patient might need an appointment, and it's giving us the top 2, assuming there's more than one, and putting it into language that can be read out. So according to our records, you need an appointment for bloods to ensure your regular medication remains safe to prescribe and to monitor your kidney function. So there's no trying to work out what to say, what the reasons are, and then booking for that appointment. It's working out exactly what appointment they need. Now that's really simple when it comes to, say, bloods only. When we get to annual reviews, that gets a little more complex. So I'll show you on one of these patients. Because often patients have got multiple comorbidities, they may need more than one appointment, and also the way that you work as a practice will be different. So for this patient, they're a non-responder to their annual review invite, so they're showing as red in this dot up here. So this prompt, again, similar to the other one, according to our records, you're due your COPD annual review and monitoring of your medication. Can we book that for you now? So if this time I click book, it's working out the patient needs an appointment for COPD, including bloods. Now, it may be that in your practice, bloods are done elsewhere, or that'd be a separate appointment. We would always configure the system to work the way you need it to in terms of how appointments are booked. If I click OK, we use free slot searches in System 1, which are really powerful tools. So I pick the right one. And this is combining 3 10-minute appointments to create a 30-minute appointment with the right nurses before our blood test collection time. If I were to book that in, or anyway, it will document what's been booked and code it. So basically, we're using lots of approaches to make sure patients get the right invite, the right information for staff, the right appointments get booked. When they then attend, staff use our recall overview template. In this particular scenario, we can see the bloods that are needed, which is this annual monitoring, and also that a COPD review is needed. We've got information, for example, showing that their latest BP is on target. For this patient, I've submitted some dummy data, which we do a lot of. So we do a lot of sending patients questionnaires. Our system can use this to sometimes complete a review or to update a review. So for example, say someone's got hypertension and nothing else that needs doing, and they submit a BP that's on target and all this data. If you want, our system can then update and go, great, we only need to book a blood test to complete this review. Or it may be you still want them to have a full sort of annual LTC review. Again, that will be configured to reflect how your practice works. There are other reviews that we can facilitate, doing kind of notes-based and questionnaires, like for COPD and asthma where appropriate. We've got kind of quick entry stuff in this template. If you want to dig into the system more, staff can see exactly what's going on and why. So we can see, for example, this patient is on an ACE, so they're having an annual U&E. They've not had a full blood count since first being diagnosed with COPD, so that's going to get included at the same time. There's loads to it, as you can kind of hopefully tell. But what our system is trying to do is pull together all these different things that might be going on for a patient and trying to make it nice and simple for both inviting the patient, booking them, and then seeing them. Just a couple of other things to flag up that might be useful for you to know. There's always the odd patient who needs things that are a bit different and that aren't kind of standard to that medication or that diagnosis. For example, in this template, we can say, I need this patient to have a 6-monthly PSA. And we can even say that we want that to be for the next 2 years. And then in 2 years' time, switch it to be annual. So basically, with this sort of approach, we're trying to avoid all sorts of scheduled tasks, all System 1 recalls. They are all inherently very clunky and time-consuming to set up and to manage. And this approach works far better. Last little thing to show you that some practices really love is this ability to arrange follow-up that's specific to the patient and to who they need to see. So say, for example, we want to see them in 3 months with a GP, I don't know, discuss impact of medication change. Putting this in here will then mean that they've dropped into reports to be invited in a few months' time. There can be prompts for clinicians to know what they're talking to the patient about and why, and to record when it's been discussed. The system is always growing and changing. By the time you're watching this, we'll have developed more things, I'm sure. But hopefully that gives you a bit of a flavour of what we can offer. Thanks.